Hello, let's today talk about India's economy and how it works. We are not going to dive fully into it, but we are going to know in a nutshell. First, we don't know that people are the main resources. People are the main resources, so for it we have to develop a good education system which in turn helps people to get more skillful and get better jobs, but we are taught according to demand. We are not taught basics. Well, maybe basics are taught but not exactly. We know that if we observe our education is developing and improving according to demand. The problem is they are only working according to the demand. So if we see there is more demand for software engineering, there is more demand for civil engineering, there is demand coming on AI to on development of AI, so Indian education system develops in a way of demand. Sounds very fun, right? But not really. If you look closely, you will realize that we do not need to work according to the demand. The thing is, the demand is not real, the demand is what we have in India right now, which our government has created to control its citizens. Why? Let's find out. It is just that we are taught specific things to get into specific companies like Wipro, DCS, Tata, Birla, Infosys, Reliance and many other companies. And why so? Because our Indian government runs on taxing what we import and what we export. Our Indian government has been criticized multiple times for importing a lot of things and having a lot of tax on it. If we look at Apple in foreign, it costs very less, but here it is a lot more and it's almost a luxury piece. So why so? The thing is, we are not able to export enough, so government is taxing on what we can export. Why we can export only limited things? The thing is, we had big companies which have been running before we got independence, and our government at the start was dependent on them and used to tax them. So for the changes that our country faced, this company grabbed on specific needs and to fulfill them, like software engineering. Like how DCS started, how Infosys and Wipro started, so eventually our government started teaching our youth about software, and then they have started many courses and many branches on it, and then later on they get a right certificate to join that particular companies. Well, it sounds fun, right? But not really. We are trained to get into companies which pay more taxes to the government, and which our government runs on. So we are not talk about crypto, we are not talk about business. That well, we are not talk about a few many of the things which have demand, but the big companies couldn't capture it, that only small MSN companies can rely on. So that's the reason, it's a loose situation for people, because we are made to think that what we are learning is useful and is basic for everything, but the problem is we are only learning, and we are only taught according to the demand. First, colleges and schools consume a lot of fees from us, and they also pay taxes, and that's how government runs. Government has their own schools, which they collect money directly from, and they have private colleges which they tax very heavily. So that's why there are famous colleges which are very large in their economic value. So government creates certain syllabus where students has to stay long enough to pay education fees and all such, and later they go and join the companies which pay taxes according to the government. But that's where we are having problem. We are not exporting in a right way, we are exporting from the things from big companies which pay taxes. But if we start thinking on our own and look at the demands that others are making, for example, China sends out silicon, but we don't, even though we have some mines in Gujarat. The reason for it is that if we capture on it, our education system has to change once again, our taxing system has to change once again, and government is not ready to risk. It is earning from colleges and other education institutions, and then it is also earning from big companies. But the thing is, government is not ready to teach students to build their own businesses and be independent by themselves by learning specific skills that don't have demand in India, that big companies in India don't demand for, but it has more value in other parts of world, such as how Finland is working. Finland mostly works on Innovation, and other Nordic countries too, they have better education, so they innovate and tax on what they innovate, and then they use the manpower from India's India and some population countries and African countries so that they get cheap manpower in this way. And then they can enjoy the rights of their innovation, but we don't do that like that. We tend to stick to the demands that only we can export and we are confident about. We are not ready to take risks to export things such as our patents. We are not ready to export chips and all. Like motherboards, circuits and many other things, we are not exporting video games. We are not making better video games. We are not earning through those things. So what we should do is, the part of society which we have to realize is that we can earn better. We can do it by having an idea on having to learn where there is a demand and exporting from that point. Thank you.